Hi there everybody, it's Rarity here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you for joining me today for our Inspire.Create.Challenge for this month, this fortnight. So the theme is the new in colours, so in case you haven't seen these on the rounds or around in on blogs and YouTube, etc. These are they come out, we get a fresh set every 2 years. And these are they. So we have Starry Sky, Orchid Oasis, Tahitian Tide, Sweet Sorbet and Parakeet Party. A really nice fresh colour palette to work with. So I'm a design team member for the Inspire Create Challenges. So you'll find the link for this over on their blog, and there will be a link to that in the video description. Of course, there are all the other design team will have made projects too, so please do check out that blog post and lend them support as well, and give you some ideas on how you can use these colours together. And all the projects are really quite different, so loads of inspiration to be had there. Okay, so those are the colours that we are using. So we are allowed to add like white and black and stuff. I always like to try and stay as true as possible to colour challenges where I can. So this is the card, or a variation of the card that we're going to make today, and this is using the Sending Smiles bundle. So this is a photopolymer stamp set with this lovely scripty word and these lovely companion stamps that cover all sorts of occasions, and just to say hi, some thanks, some just with love and stuff, bit of you know, good feelings, a bit of luck as well, comfort and strength, all that kind of thing. So it spans lots and lots of different occasions, and we can build lots of different flowers with the stamps. So they're photopolymer, so we can layer them together, but we also have the dies to go with it. So if you're not good at lining them up, you can actually stamp everything, die cut it all out, and then build your flower, your blooms, whichever way what you like. And then we have these lovely little banner stamps there, not stamps, dies, to go with your sentiments. So that's a nice little additional extra there. And then there is the Sending, which is the which sort of matches this, and then we have another die which we'll use in a minute to actually cut out the whole word, or you can layer the two together with the die cuts, but I've opted to stamp and die cut mine. Okay, so very versatile set that we're going to be using. Everything's all mounted on blocks and things ready to go. So got the sentiment there. I'm just using one of the little flowers for this. Okay, so those are the stamps that we're using, just the 4 of them. Okay, and then I've got the dies ready to go here as well. Okay, so first things first, then let's get some stamping done. Okay, and then we can get things die cut. So please bear with. Probably should have done some of this die cutting ahead of time, but it's sometimes I find it nice for guys to see the whole process. I think it's helpful sometimes if you can see the whole process from start to finish. So brand new ink pads, well, virtually brand new. I've had them a couple of months now, but as a demo we get them a little bit earlier. We can pre-order them. So this is Sweet Sorbet, which is a lovely bright red. Got a bit more sort of orangey pink tone to it than Real Red has, but not as pink as Poppy Parade. So I'm just going to get that wiped off. I do like to clean my stamps as I go, particularly with the red and pink inks, just to minimise the staining that I might get on there. So just bear with me a second. Just got a stamping chamois that I have in, I kind of pull out a drawer next to me. There's an extra bit of space, so I'm just wiping that off. Okay, so we're going to stamp as much as we can onto this sheet, basically. Parakeet Party, really bright green, a bit brighter than green apple green even. Okay, really nice and zesty. So we're going to want 3 of these, so let's squeeze those on here somewhere. So we're going to be die cutting all this stuff out, so as long as they're not overlapping the images, then we'll be able to die cut them out like so. So 3 sets of leaves, wiping it off on my chamois there. And then the flowers, on my original I had Starry Sky flowers and Orchid Oasis. I'm going to replace the Orchid Oasis with the Tahitian Tide and swap those 2 colours around just to give it a different look. So here's Starry Sky. Okay, and we want light tapping on the ink pad. When you ink, these are sort of like a foam. You don't want to press hard, just light tapping onto the ink pad in case you've stumbled across this video and you've never stamped before. Okay, I'll wipe that off. And we're going to use this same stamp with our Tahitian Tide. Okay, so you open them up like a compact and then slide them down just to keep them open. Stamp cases are really clever because they, stamp pads cases are very clever because they keep the ink towards the top of the pad, which keeps it nice and moist and ready to use. So those same inks are going to be used to add the centres, so I'm going to add that Tahitian Tide to the Starry Skies. There. And then we'll add Starry Sky into the centre of those ones, like so. Okay, and then we'll be using our Orchid Oasis for the sentiment, which I've already cut an additional little scrap here. This is 3/8 of an inch wide, because I'm just using that lovely skinny sentiment, birthday wishes, just nice light tapping. Okay, and if you hover over the top you can see through these lovely clear blocks. This is a clear acrylic block that we can mount our stamps onto. Down, firm pressure, straight up. If the paper sticks, don't worry, just pull it off. Okay, they're water-based inks, so they're gonna dry really quick and sink into the card. Okay, so that's cool. So these just peel off, go back into the case, ready to use again. Right, we've used all 5 colours in the first instance, so now we've got some die cutting to do. So what I think I shall do is just whiz you through a couple of the steps. So what we'll try and do is get as many dies onto here as possible without overlapping. So you want to look at your image and then line up the die so that you can't see any of that, any white around the edges. Okay, you may need a couple of different points, so you know, top and bottom of each of the letters or something, just to give you some orientation. You never want dies to cross over each other. That's the only thing that will damage dies. So you want to position these apart, and I'm just using some low tack tape. This happens to be washi tape, which is like a crafty tape, which I have reused a couple of times, so it's now starting to get even less sticky, but that's fine. And just take off, you know, the excess tack with onto the back of your hand or onto your clothing or something, so it doesn't tear your cardstock. So we can get all of those die cut in one pass of our machine. So we're going to use a manual die cut machine, the Stampin' Cut and Emboss. It's essentially like a mangle, if you like, that helps us to die cut. So we always use this base platform, okay, and then we have this thin sheet. So we have a number 1 platform and number 2 for die cutting. Then we have a bottom cutting plate, which is very well used. Okay, so they start off nice and clear like this, but once you've cut into them several times, they start to look like this, and they bend a little bit, but doesn't affect how they work. So I keep one scruffy one for my base plate, and then I use a clean one. You do get a bit of imprints on there from the back of the die, but once that one gets beyond use, I'll swap it out for my clean one and then put another fresh one on top, so I'm getting the most out of my dies. Alright, so I'm going to put that on top, and we're going to roll it through the machine manually, and the pressure is going to push those ridges on the dies, edge of the dies, through the cardstock and cut it out for us, which is flipping amazing. Okay, so once that's been rolled through, we can lift off this plate. Sometimes they just fall out, just like that, see? Beautiful. So that has just been cut by rolling it through and applying pressure to the cardstock. Okay, so we'll lift off the other one. They do sort of stick to the top plate for some reason. So whether it's just the edge of the plate, if it sticks in like that, you just press it out. There we are. Okay, so there's the raised edge on the other side. That's what does the cutting, and it's not sharp at all. You can press that with your fingers, and you can't put enough pressure on it to cut you. It's just the immense pressure from the actual machine that does that for us. Okay, and there's one of our flowers. Okay, so I need to repeat that process with the other leaves and things. So I'm going to replace these on here, send it through again. I'm going to have to do that a number of times, so what I'll do is I'll be quiet now and whiz this forward for you so that we end up with our die cut images. Okay, so we'll set that going and we'll be back in a moment. So that's all our die cutting done. Okay, so we've got all our little bits and pieces there. Okay, we're just going to snip this down. We're not going to use any dies for this bit. Okay, and I find that a quirky angle is just as easy to give you some interest. And if you use the other end as your template, you're going to get them even like that. So there we go, that's our sentiment cut and ready to go too. So on the base card I put in a stitched circle, and I thought instead of that I thought I'd introduce a new punch. I haven't used it yet. This is, what's that called? I think it's called the deckled circle punch. Oh, whoops, gosh, they're quite heavy as you heard. Okay, so they come flat, and if you push down that lever like so, it releases the mechanism like so. Okay, so we're just going to need some cardstock. There we go, that'll do. Nice different shape. So another really great cutting tool. Punches are great. We've got loads of labels and other decorative shapes as well. So so I thought that would be something different to put on the background. It's not as big as the die I've used, but it'll work. It's fine, just to introduce something different. Okay, so layering wise then, we're going to add a little bit of something to the background on this. So the little centre die that we stamps rather, I'm going to use as the decorative elements. That's what made the little spots on the back there. And the other thing we're going to do is we're just going to put a bit of ink around the edges on the base cards. This is what I call a full card layer. This measures 4 inches across by 5 3/4 high. I'm going to use a blending brush for mine. Was thinking which one I'm going to use because it's not really that colour, so I'll just use the dark blue one. I think it's close enough. Okay, totally optional step here, just to add some interest to the edges of the card, and I've literally just dabbed it on and taken off most of the ink just to add something along the edges and across these corners here. It's quite a punchy colour, the Orchid Oasis, so don't want to go on too heavy with it. So taking most of that ink back off before applying it to the card. We can always add more if we feel like we've taken off too much, but if it goes onto your project, it's on. There isn't any taking it off, so it's better to go easy on it, and then if you get any fluffies on there, you can wipe them away usually with your nail, or you can use one of those like nail sanding blocks. Okay, so that gives us a bit of definition around the edge of the card, and we're going to do the same. In fact, I'm not even going to apply any additional ink to the brush. I'm just going to use whatever's residual ink is on there, just to add that. And you'd be surprised how much just having that edge inked like that really helps it pop. You can go around like this as well if you want. Really makes it pop against the background. Okay, so there you go. There's a little bit of a tip in terms of, oh, let's not put that away. Need to add some spots here and there. So let's go with. So we usually go with a sort of a trio. Don't really know exactly how things are going to lay out on the card yet, but you know, it's going to be roughly like that. And again, I'm probably going to have one up here. A couple down here. Oops, probably shouldn't have. There we go. And so it just adds a little bit of something to the background without overbearing it. Right, let's start to put this together then. So we'll pop down our base layer onto our white card base. So the card base is the normal size, which is I cut an A4 sheet of the thick cardstock lengthways at 4 1/8 of an inch and score it at 5 7/8 of an inch. Okay, line up these corners, the rest should take care of themselves. Sharp crease will help the card stand up. So I'm going to do what I call dry build this, which essentially is just helping me plan to some degree how the layout's going to work. This is a good plan before you commit to anything. Now, obviously, I've already made a sample, and so I've got some idea of where I'm going with this, but if you haven't done that, or you need to have a little think about it and play around with it, then this is an opportunity to do that. I'm covering one of those spots, but I could always put another one in afterwards if necessary. Okay. Put that across, so we're looking something like that, and then the flowers should be able to slot in on there. I'm just going to do a quick, this is what I do a lot with flowers. If you've watched any of my videos before, you'll have seen a lot of this kind of stuff before. I use one of these like big round tools. You can easily, you could use anything that's got a rounded shape to it. I don't know, back of a spoon, edge of your, you know, anything really, that will just press into the centre and allow you to create a little bit of shape on your flower. And the palm of your hand, if you haven't got hand problems, if that hurts, don't use your hand. The other thing is, you know, get a foam mat or some kind of sponge or something, mouse mat, something squishy that you can just press into to give your flowers some shape, and they gives it this lovely little cup shape, which is really attractive and just gives your card a bit of movement. So that's where we're heading with this, which is super cool. Okay, so combination of glue then to get this down. I'm going to stick the circle down flat just with some Stampin' Seal. Okay, and that's going to go somewhere there. I'm putting it slightly above centre. Another beginner's trick is to work with the rule of thirds. So, you know, bunches of 3 tend to look attractive. I'm looking for wet glue and it's hiding behind here. It's multi-purpose glue. So we're going to just pop in our foliage. Now you may or may not have noticed there that don't use a whole ton of this glue. It only needs an anchor, so you don't need to plaster it all over the back, and then your glue lasts flipping ages. Okay, so that's that. I'm just going to put the lid on that just for a second while we sort out our sentiments. In fact, actually I need the just going to put a dab of glue onto the sentiment in those 2 strategic little places there, because the sentiment's going to sort of stick across those letters there. Might be a little high. Let's bring it down a little bit. And that gives us a little bit of an anchor point for that, without having to try and stick something skinny onto the card. Okay, any residual glue that pokes out is going to dry clear. Okay, and then I'm going to use some mini foam dimensionals. Onto the back of that die cut. Just don't want that glue to go everywhere, so I'm just going to bring in that silicone mat just to protect my desk for a second. So just a few of those on the back there. And these are the mini dimensionals. Ooh. And we'll pop that into place. That's going to hide all those stems and things, or at least mostly. If I put it about there and try and get it straight, of course. So there we go, that's lovely. And then these guys, if we just put a bead of glue onto the backs of these, So putting a nice big blob like that on has a couple of advantages in that it helps stick it over quite a sort of lumpy bumpy kind of surface with all this other layering that's going on, and gives you some wriggle room to make sure your positioning is how you want it. Just got a bit of glue on my fingers, which is why that's sticking to me. The multi-purpose glue, if you let it dry, it kind of goes tacky and almost becomes like a repositional glue. But it just rubs off if you get it in a place where you don't want it. Just get a you know, like a white school eraser thing, and it will just rub off. Just using a little tool here just to help me apply some pressure there. The multi-purpose glue is very quick grab, is what we call it. Where's my little there it is. I know that'll do. Odd numbers. Just a bit more of that in the background, just to give it a bit more balance. There we go. Right, I'm done. It's a bit more involved as a card, but I think the result is really cool. Okay, and I think even though you know, there's a lot going on around the sentiment and stuff, it doesn't obscure what it says. And I love the mix of those colours. Okay, so I hope that's been enjoyable for you, and you've enjoyed seeing how to use those colours together. They're a really great set. Do check them out. The links will be in the description to those products if you wish to take a closer look. Don't forget to check out the blog post and the other design team projects as well. Give them some support, and yeah, love to see your creations too. Enter them onto the blog post, and we will pick a winner next Wednesday. Not this Wednesday, next Wednesday. Okay, that's it for me. Thanks a lot, everybody. Cheers, stay safe, see you soon.